Welcome back to the third installment of Barry Windham. Through his career in the magazines, we now jump to 1990. August 1990 was Sports Review Wrestling. We have an interview with Barry Windham, who has just come back to World Championship Wrestling from his WWF days as the Widowmaker. And he is now a horseman once again, helping Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, and of course, soon to be Sid Vicious as well into the Horseman group. I really like that Horseman group, by the way. That one, I didn't mind that one. That one was okay. September 1990, PWI. It's the Four Horsemen ride again. There they are. And like I, picked out with the Lex Luger incarnation of that group, they all wore suits. They all look like businessmen. I feel like this era of the Horsemen was the same kind of feeling to it. Only you take out Tully and Lex and you add in Barry and Sid. I mean, that's a really, really cool looking picture too. I would love to have that as a poster. But there they are, the Horsemen, Barry. Once again, back in the Horsemen. PWI, December 1990. The Four Horsemen dressing room. We get talk here. Barry Windham says, what I'm saying is that Rick's always been on top, and if Rick isn't on top, opponents are going to perceive that the Horsemen are weak. So there's a little transcript of what was going on inside the Four Horsemen locker room. What? Sting? Nope, that's not Sting, ladies and gentlemen. That is Barry Windham, dressed as Sting in the February 1991 The Wrestler from Halloween Havoc. There it is. Let's get a good look here at. That is Barry Windham dressed as Sting. Sid got the pin on Sting, and we thought Sid was the new WCW champion. Turns out it was Barry Windham, and the Stinger came out to defeat Sid and retain the WCW title. June 91 for Pro Wrestling Illustrated, we get Ric Flair's bonus to the Horsemen. Barry Windham only gets $75,000. Arn Anderson gets $85,000, and Sid Vicious takes in a cool $1 million. So Barry apparently worth only $75,000 to Ric Flair and the Horsemen. What an interesting story that is, really, right? Like, why even write that? It's so weird. We got October 1991. Barry Windham's dubious honor. He's the only man all rule breakers trust. Wow. Let's get to it here. There it is. Barry Windham doesn't have any titles and he doesn't have many fans, but he has plenty of friends, all rule breakers, who would trust him with their last dime. There is honor among thieves. Barry wouldn't stay a rule breaker for long here, though, would he? Because very shortly he becomes a babyface, a good guy, if you will. November 1991, The Wrestler. Lex Luger wins the WCW title, but loses his fans. There's Barry in the torture rack there. He wrestled Lex Luger for the vacant WCW championship after Ric Flair left. Lex, of course, winning the title. Barry did the honors for Lex that night, and Lex is now the newly healed WCW champion. Barry is now a babyface. November 1991, which is funny because this is kind of behind. The WCW magazine is a little bit behind here because Barry's still a villain here with Arn Anderson against the Young Pistols. Barry and Arn were an interesting tag team. They never won the tag titles. I felt they should have had a run as tag champions. I thought they wrestled Doom many times in 1990 and early 91, but never got the tag gold together. This is WCW Magazine, February 1992. Why do I... Oh, that's right, down here. So there's Barry Windham's face turn. Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko slam Barry Windham's hand into a car door. and thus Barry is off to the races for sure as a good guy. Here we see Barry on the cover, WCW Magazine, June 1992, going into Wrestle War Games with Sting, Nikita Koloff, Dustin Rhodes, and Ricky Steamboat as his partners against the Dangerous Alliance. Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes were closer than brothers. In the brutally competitive world of professional wrestling, nothing is more valuable than a solid friendship. But where Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes are concerned, friendship only begins to describe their relationship. Now, that could be taken in many different ways. I'm not going to go there, but Barry and Dustin on the road to tag team title gold, perhaps? We'll soon see. September 92, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. We get a press conference interview with Barry Windham. He, of course, was going after Steve Austin's World Television Championship, and he did beat Steve Austin for that title, holding it for 1 month. So Barry does have a television title reign in there. It says here, it feels good to take out the Dangerous Alliance member. We had to take him down a notch. So yes, Barry did win the television title. September 92, Wrestling Superstars. We get a Superstar Dream match of Barry Windham versus IRS. Of course, IRS, Mike Rotundo, brother-in-laws, former tag team champions. So that is the dream match for Wrestling Superstars. WCW Magazine. We got October 1992, and as the cover shows, we got a poster of Barry Windham. Now, I can't show you the poster. It's still in the book, but I do have it, so that is pretty damn cool. I have the Barry Windham poster in this magazine. Inside Wrestling, December 92, how friendship is destroying Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes. Wow, we just read how their friendship is blossoming, and even better than that, now we have a destruction of the friendship. Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham have had tremendous success as a tag team. But how long can their partnership last? Drifting back and forth between singles and tag teams in a never-ending effort to help each other, Windham and Rhodes are hurting themselves. Wow, maybe there's some truth to that. They were both singles guys, really. They kind of formed a team to go after the Dangerous Alliance, so that might be some truth to that, right? Who knows? Wrestle America, December 1992. We get a colored photo of Barry Windham in this one. Looking good there, Barry. Barry in the red trunks always popped a little more than black and such. I thought I know he wore the black a lot in the Horsemen and such, but the red, he stopped wearing the blues as time went on, but he still kept with the red. Collector Series number 3, 1993 yearbook. We got, again, there's that same photo shoot. There's Barry Windham right there. So this is a magazine WCW put out, kind of like the WWF Spotlights and such, or not Spotlights, Superstars, where they do Superstars 1, 2, 3, 4, and they talk about the wrestlers and the company that year. WCW did it that time, so it's pretty sweet. And in this edition, it's just awesome action photos, and we get Barry with a sweet leapfrog over Dr. Death Steve Williams there. Look at his facial expression. That's awesome. Barry Windham's face reflects the exhaustion he must feel in this fast-paced bout as he vaults over Dr. Death Steve Williams. WCW Magazine, January 1993. Dustin Rhodes' anguish. What happened to Barry Windham? That's right. Dustin and Barry win the World Tag Team titles on WCW Saturday Night from Terry Gordy and Steve Williams. They are now the unified WCW and NWA World Tag Team Champions, and they hold those titles for about 6 weeks or so, 6-7 weeks before they lose them at the Clash of the Champions to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Shane Douglas. Inside Wrestling, March 1993. The Dustin Rhodes Barry Windham breakup, who's to blame? So they have a whole story on it. Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes have split up, finally. The situation is a lot more complicated than it appears to be. You can blame Windham, you can blame Rhodes, or you can blame one of several other people, and we explain why. There's a percentage here. Who's to blame? A breakdown. 38% goes to Dustin Rhodes, 36% goes to Barry Windham, Shane Douglas gets 12%, Rick Steamboat gets 9%, and Bill Watts gets 5%. So there's the story there. There's the match with Steamboat and Douglas at the Clash. And they won the belts off Barry and Dustin. That's where Barry went heel. After the match, DDT Dustin and superplexed him and beat the shit out of him. And we were off to the races with Barry Windham's heel turn once again, and this time going for the NWA World title. PWI, April 93, we get a Barry Windham centerfold, again, from that same photo shoot in the red. Let's see who he hates now and everything. I always love reading these, right, as time goes by. We got greatest match, still with Nikita Koloff. Favorite maneuvers, now the DDT. Toughest opponent, Ric Flair. Most hated opponent, the Rhodes Clan. So now we're just upping it to Dusty and Dustin. Nice, nice. The Wrestler, May 1993. Let's get a little closer here now. Windham and Rhodes, vengeance has its price. By any means necessary, Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes, vengeance has its price. Dustin Rhodes isn't satisfied, neither is Barry Windham. After months of intense feuding, these two former friends still are not ready to settle their differences. Theirs is a war that may eventually involve every wrestler in WCW and extract a high financial cost in the process. So yeah, they had a lot of non-sanctioned matches here, as you can tell, with them wearing their jeans and their shirts and sweaters. That's how you can tell it's a non-sanctioned match. Wrestling tights go out the window for those. It's time to wrestle in street clothes. And Barry now has a goatee. So he really is the bad guy now, right? He really is a villain. June 1993 of The Wrestler. Why Barry Windham's greatest triumph will become his greatest tragedy. And there it is. We're talking the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Barry Windham defeating the Great Muta at Super Brawl 3. Moments after winning the NWA title, The Wrestler has learned Barry Windham tried to institute a plan to reform the Four Horsemen. What became of that plan makes for startling reading. I don't believe that, because Barry didn't want nothing to do with the Horsemen at the time. He didn't want nothing to do with Ric Flair or Arn Anderson. He was his own man. As a matter of fact, he was called the Lone Wolf. There's the Super Brawl 3 match. It's a great match, by the way. The Barry Windham Great Muta match from Super Brawl 3. You have to see this match. Very incredible match. Fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. WCW Magazine, July 93. Barry Windham, why the silent treatment? So yes, there was a thing here where Barry, after this winning the title, they would try to interview him. And he would talk, but if the topic of conversation went to Ric Flair's name, Barry would walk away. He didn't want nothing to do with that. So once willing to voice an opinion on any subject, NWA World Champion Barry Windham has suddenly turned thumbs down on the press. But it is said that actions speak louder than words, and Windham's actions in the ring are screaming louder than ever. So, that match wasn't good, by the way, Barry and Rick. At Beach Blast 93, Barry blew out his knee in the match. It wasn't that good, unfortunately. The Wrestler, August 1993, Barry Windham's NWA, no wimps allowed. So there he is, the NWA World Champion, looking good there, wrestling Ricky Steamboat. Now that he's NWA Champion, Barry Windham has solidified the rule-breaking style he's occasionally employed in the past. In fact, he's taking it to new heights of intensity that pleases his father and frightens his opponents. So there he is against Ricky Steamboat. They had some awesome matches together in tags and singles. And that match right there is actually from this cover here, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, August 1993. It's when WCW took Manhattan. There's nothing really to show inside. This is the main photo of Barry here. There's nothing inside, but I wanted to show Barry on the cover against Ricky Steamboat there. Wrestle America, September 93, Ron Simmons versus NWA champ Barry Windham. Ron, former WCW champion, Barry, the reigning NWA World Champion. A good match there. Now that the Four Horsemen have reunited, Ron Simmons says he can see the fear in Barry Windham's eyes. In fact, about the only wrestler who doesn't see the NWA champion headed for a fall is Barry Windham himself. So Ron and Barry had some wars there. Unfortunately, Ron would only hold one world title in his career. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, at times in wrestling. The Wrestler, October 1993. Too Cold Scorpio versus Barry Windham, the turning point in a match and a career. This is from the Clash of the Champions, where Too Cold challenged Barry for the NWA title. Not really much to say here. It was a good match. If you've seen it on the Clash of the Champions, you know what I'm talking about. Really solid match. The main event of that show was the Four Horsemen of Flair and Arn against the Hollywood Blondes. Barry got involved in that one as well. PWI, October 1993. NWA or WCW, they can't have it both ways. WCW's restoration of the NWA title has been an abject failure. In a sport already muddled with confusion, the dual titles have just further confused fans and wrestlers. It is time for the Federation to pick 3 letters and stick with them. Wow, that does make sense. I remember back then when I would have been 12 years old here, I was kind of confused too. I thought, well, isn't the NWA title the WCW title? And they changed the name and all this, and then they bring it back, and it was really weird, but there it is. I believe I explained it in a video too, how that all went down like about a year ago, because I was reading up on it in magazines and I figured it out. So Sports Review Wrestling, this is May 1994. We get a topic here, a story. An update on Barry Windham, gone but not forgotten. That's right, because Barry wasn't around for a year or so. It's been some time since Barry Windham wrestled. Will the Lone Wolf be back in the ring? That remains a mystery. Well, Barry did come back in 1994 to WCW for one match against Ric Flair as a surprise opponent for him at Slamboree 94, and unfortunately blew out his knee once again. And then he was gone for a while. He was gone until 1996, when he'd make a shocking appearance in the WWF as the Stalker. That's right. That is Barry Windham. That is Barry Windham, the Stalker. What a weird, stupid gimmick that was, but Barry needed money, I guess, and Vince McMahon saw him as the Stalker. That, of course, didn't last long, because he would end up forming a tag team with Justin Hawk Bradshaw, who became Blackjack Bradshaw, and Barry Windham became Blackjack Windham. And there you have the new Blackjacks are born. Yeah, nothing much to say about that. I get it. They were trying to do something with both those men, and I guess that made the most sense at the time. There's also an interview in here in the Line of Fire with the new Blackjacks. They talk about the past. They actually talk about Mulligan and Lanza and such. So it was interesting. It's kind of neat because this was during a time frame when the WWF was kind of trying to, make you see more than just what was going on in their company. They would talk about the past, which I thought was kind of neat, because wrestling fans aren't stupid, right? We just aren't. Now, this is the last time I remember seeing Barry Windham in a magazine. I mean, he might be in some later ones or something. I don't really know. And so this is what I'm just going to end this one with. And it's an interesting one. Down there, I'll give you a look at it. Will the real Four Horsemen please stand up? Please, pretty please. In 1998, September of 1998, the NWA was its own company, I suppose, in the Indies. It was, this will stay open. Let me see here. See, the binding on these ones are, there we go. Maybe I'll do that. Back then, the NWA wasn't like, a big organization. It was like an indie thing. And the NWA titles were actually used in the WWF in 1998. The NWA Tag Team Champions were the Rock and Roll Express. They lost the titles to the Headbangers, and then they lost the titles to the new Midnight Express, Bombastic, Bob Holly, and Bodacious Bart Gunn. They would lose the tag titles on an indie show because the WWF withdrew from the NWA, but they were still the champs, so they went to an indie show, dropped the belts to someone. I don't even know what team beat them for it. But in September of 1998, Four Horsemen members Tully Blanchard and Barry Windham tagged up with Magnum TA as their manager to win the NWA World Tag Team titles. Yes, the same NWA that has lineage for years, right? Like it goes all the way back. So Barry, once again, an NWA World Tag Team champion, as well as Tully. So yeah, it's insane to think like Barry still winning gold, NWA gold in 1998. So this is it. That's it, folks. That's the all I could find on Barry Windham. What can you say about Barry Windham, right? He was a big dude, he was like 6'8", something like that, 6'6", and he could freaking go. He was, let me just open that up. There we go. He was an amazing wrestler. If we want to go down the list of belts he held, let's do it. 2-time WWF Tag Team titles. He held the WCW television title. He held the WCW tag titles 3 times with Dustin Rhodes, with Curt Hennig, and with Kendall Windham. He held the NWA United States tag team titles with Ronnie Garvin, the NWA United States heavyweight title, the NWA World Tag titles with Lex Luger, with Dustin Rhodes, and with Tully Blanchard. He held the NWA World title. He held the NWA Western States Heritage title. Barry Windham had an amazing career, plus all the championships in Florida he held. Southern title, Florida title, the tag titles there. I mean, Barry Windham had an amazing career, and it's great that he's in the WWE Hall of Fame. He's in there twice. He's in there with the Four Horsemen, the version of him, Arn Tully, Rick, and J.J. Dillon, and he's in there with Mike Rotundo for the U.S. Express tag team that they did while in the WWF in 1985. Just incredible, though, the career Barry's had, and it's a shame he didn't have more world titles, but the fact he had one NWA world title I'm pleased with. I'm happy to know he did it. And if anyone out there who's watching this who may not have seen Barry Windham wrestle, and I really doubt that. I would think a lot of the fans, a lot of people who watch my videos have seen older wrestling, or you probably wouldn't be watching it, like from the 80s and 90s. Then you know how good he was. And go back and watch some of his matches today or tomorrow or so. It's outstanding what he could do in the ring. All right, guys, that's it for this one. That was my 3-part series, a look through in the magazines at Barry Windham's career. And I hope you all enjoyed it. I know I did, because he's a personal favorite of mine. So leave a comment. What was your favorite Barry Windham match, favorite Barry Windham moment? Doesn't matter. Just let me know. It'd be cool to hear what you guys have to say about the Lone Wolf, Barry Windham. All right, guys, until I do my next one, I'll talk to you later.